Day 17. This is the prophecy. Isaiah 35, verse 5 and 6. Then the eyes of the blind will be open, and the ears of the deaf will be unstopped. Then the lame will leap like a deer, and the tongue of the mute will shout for joy. For waters will break forth in the wilderness, and streams in the Arabah. This is the fulfillment of the prophecy. Matthew 11, verses 2 through 6. Now when John heard in prison about the deeds of the Christ, he sent word by his disciples and said to him, Are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another? And Jesus answered them, Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. And the dead are raised up, and the poor have good news preached to them. And blessed is the one who is not offended by me. Life doesn't always go the way we want it to, and following Jesus doesn't guarantee a perfect life. When we look at the lives of the disciples, they were beaten, whipped, imprisoned, and rejected, just like Jesus was. Following Jesus isn't always easy. John the Baptist had trusted that Jesus was the Messiah, the promised deliverer to Israel. He had heard the voice from heaven at Jesus' baptism and all the great things Jesus was doing in his ministry. Despite this, he found himself in jail for preaching the gospel of God, declaring, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Matthew 3, verse 2. John, facing difficult circumstances, became disillusioned and asked, Are you really the one who I prophesied about, or shall we search for another? Interestingly, Jesus responded with the same things that caused John's inquiry, what he was doing. In fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy, God would redeem his people, and the sign of this redemption was that the blind would see, the deaf would hear, and the lame would walk. Jesus was fulfilling God's hope for his people, displaying in word and deed that the kingdom had indeed arrived, and he was the promised Messiah. Today's reflection. In challenging times, we need to be reminded of two things. First, that Jesus is our deliverer. Second, consider what he has done. Take a moment to reflect on your story and the ways he has answered your prayers, and rejoice.